your Monday work week, the start of a new work week. But anyway, I, once again, I get tired of all the, I don't even know what you want to call it, the YouTube cronies, fake news. So we get the over the weekend, over the holiday. You get the Syria uprising, Civil War Part Two, where you want to call it. But there's just a lot of just very low knowledge stuff out there. And where you go to the Enforcer or um, Silicone Curtain, all these places. Oh,
Hi.
hi.
Dave, I already emailed you your schedule,
Yep.
but Helen Schultz, I have her down at 3:15 and she needs the bus
Okay.
tomorrow. I'm just letting you know. Do you want me to resend it? Would that be easier?
Yeah, if you could, please.
Okay. Yep,
Yep.
I can do that. I'll do it right now then.
Okay. Yep. Sounds
All
good.
right. Thank you.
All right.
Bye
Yep.
bye.
Bye. Sorry about that, guys. But anyway, it's just kind of crazy, right? And all these guys have been ever since the Ukraine Russian war broke out, right? All these guys have just been basically Ukrainian mouthpieces, and they report stuff, granted, but it's all just fake. It's fake news, right? They're so biased in the reporting that it's actually fake. It's literally propaganda. So in regards to the Syria war, let me just make it very clear. Having Assad ousted from power, okay, is not a good thing. It's not a good thing, especially in a world that can't guarantee the outcome in Syria, which we can't, right? We didn't guarantee the outcome in Iraq either or in Afghanistan. Let's go look at America's intervention policy, which I'm not against. But let's just look at playing in the sandbox since Desert Storm. That's really when this starts, Desert Storm. Okay, under Obama, we ousted Gaddafi out of Libya. Today, Libya is a failed state, has more terrorists running around in Libya today than it did prior any time since Gaddafi was in power. We Before Gaddafi, of course, we had eventually captured Saddam Hussein, and that is a failed state today. Failed state. It's one of Iran's puppet states today. Okay, then we have Afghanistan. Afghanistan, the Taliban, the very people we kicked out of power, is now running the country again. There is no voted government there. It is under complete control, as in 100% control of terrorists. So Afghanistan is a failed state. Okay. Interestingly enough, what's become different today is that Al Qaeda is moving back into the Taliban, and they're starting to actually not work together but fight one another, and to the point where they've lost ground. uh, I'm talking about the Taliban have lost ground to Al Qaeda. So what I'm saying is Assad is in this same framework of these four countries. The governments that were in existence there were better than the outcome that happened. Why? Because they were secularists. You see the radical extremist guys who go around and they're like real believers of Islam, right? Cutting heads off, things like that. Hey, you stole somewhere, take your hand, right? Those are real believers in Islam, real believers of Islam. Saddam Hussein, Gaddafi, none of these guys were good people, but the point was they never threatened anyone or the world, and they were secularist. Nothing, nothing other than attempting to take them out of power resulted in crackdowns ever. And they were true believers, right? They're the type of guys that when you looked at them, they had, like pornography in their stash, right? Um, they weren't like these crazy Islamists, right? So anyway, it baffles me how all these people are getting hard-ons over the Syria rebellion. Let's put it this way: the SDF, which is the Syrian Democratic Forces, okay, they are doing almost no fighting at this point. Like, out of the fighting you see going on, they're the ones not actually doing any fighting. And very little fighting, I should say. Their outcome might, once again, if you could guarantee them as outcome as becoming the new power in Syria, it'd be a little bit interesting, right? But probably not going to be that way. I don't even think. Let's be realistic here. Unlike, the Enforcer and all these, fake news outlets that are now becoming the YouTube news network, um, it is not likely that Assad's going to lose power. They will say, oh, it's because of Russia struggling in Ukraine. Right, I get that. But the biggest reason to why this happened is nothing to do with Russia. It had to do with Israel over the last year blowing up Syrian ammunition depots that hurt the military and killed a lot of military. But at the same time, Israel doesn't want to see Assad out of power. They're a safer country with Assad in power than having a terrorist army running around their borders. They know that. And at the end of the day, no matter how rough it's been for Russia and Ukraine, Russia still has their naval port in Syria that they've had since, I think, the 60s or 70s. It's been there since the Cold War. And you would almost better believe that they're going to do whatever it takes to protect that, because losing that, once again, denies them of deep water naval bases, basically. And that being said, Russia, within that confine, that complex, if you will, they do have an air force apparatus there. And they will keep Assad in power. Iran will contribute to keeping Assad in power. That's just, now there is, now you look at this, there is always this likelihood where you say, well, after post Civil War that happened a few years ago, Assad is badly weakened. I don't disagree with that sentiment. And there is I think a very small possibility that could be true, and that could actually lead to him falling apart. But just like, reporting on the news here, was there been over like 300 or 400 rebels killed in Russian airstrikes over the last 3 or 4 days? That's significant. And I don't know if I trust those numbers, just like nothing out of the Ukrainian numbers are ever true, right? Those are all fake numbers too. But my point to that is that um that's a lot. If any of those numbers, right, are true, or even ballparking the right correct information, right, that is going to hamper any Syrian rebellion, right, um, from taking place, successful. The other thing I think that all these knuckleheads say that's complete false too is they say, well, they were so weak that they ran. They didn't withdraw. They ran from the battlefield. When they're talking about the Syrian army, but it's just not true. Um, when you're caught off guard, and they probably were caught off guard, you only have one option if you're going to live to fight another day, and that is you withdraw. Now, it can be an orderly withdrawal, it can be chaotic. Most of these times, these things happen chaotic, right? Because you're caught off guard. Whether or not you leave army tanks and supplies behind, well, it's not a good thing, but it doesn't really matter in the bigger picture. Because once again, Assad's the one with the Air Force, and Russia's the one with the Air Force. They can blow up all that stuff. But the part you can't replace ever is the manpower. So what you do is you retreat, you withdraw, and that's what Syria is doing now. That's what Assad is even telling you through the news right now. They're planning on a counterattack against the rebels. They're going to hit the rebels back at some point. It's just going to happen. So there's no reason to get all excited about Syria on any fashion. There's on any level. There's no reason to get excited about Syria. There's no reason to to think that Assad's regime is going to fall. There's no reason why you should think Assad would be good or Syria would be good if Assad falls because he's a secularist, you know. And and also let's talk. I also want to say one more thing before I cut this off. Is a lot of the things I see on YouTube too is false. They talk about Sunnis and all this and that. Assad is an Alawite, which is neither Shia or Sunni. It's a whole different sect of Islam. He's a small minority. Okay? So saying, that he's one or the other and that there's going to be this massive war, well, there probably will be because those guys kill each other all the time, right? But he is an Alawite and he is the minority and he will fight for the power. There's even been reports that maybe his brother is trying to throw him out of power in a coup attempt. Well, his brother's life, if that's true, his brother's life is probably going to be under threat from this day forward, right? You don't try to throw the king out and expect no repercussions. So anyway, guys, I gotta go. Enjoy your day. But anyone who tells you that the rebels are going to win, I could be wrong, but I think they're full of crap. It's not very likely. Russia's air power does matter. Iran matters. And in the bigger context here, bigger picture, a Syria without Assad or someone in his family in control who are all secularists, they're not extremist, terrorists, for example, doesn't bode well for the world, for Israel, or any of these things. You want Assad there. He's what keeps stability. All right, talk to you later.